through the nature, coming back home and putting my thoughts on a big board. So I started creating something, and I felt like this nature is talking with me, or I'm talking with the nature, or I don't know. It was just a creation process that human beings are more like batteries. And we have this saying, oh, I need to recharge my batteries. I need to get more energy because I'm so burnout and tired. And he's always saying this advice. If you're really in that situation that you just described, go and clean your house, you know, or go and do the gardening. Like really just do something that is very pragmatical, where you can see tangible results.
What is resilience? Istaqamat kya hai? Is it something which is being passed on from generation or it can be acquired? क्या ये नस्ल दर नस्ल चलती आ रही है या इसको सीखा जा सकता है? Is it about being strong and not faltering? Is it about being tough, doing the hard work? क्या ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो आप बस मेहनत करते रहें और आप स्ट्रॉन्ग रहें, या ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो आप सीख सकते हैं और इसके पीछे कोई साइंस है? डज इट इवन हैव अ साइंस बिहाइंड इट? डज इट इवन हैव अ फ्रेमवर्क? And these are the questions we're going to talk about, especially from the perspective of entrepreneurs and founders who face a lot of challenges. So we'll try to understand and explore that what is resilience. My guest today, she is joining us from Poland. What was her speciality is that resilience is her way of life, not just in professional experience, but in her personal life as well. She is author of Resilience, The Inner Power of Leaders, a book and an innovative training, Resilience21. She has over 15 years of global experience. She brings the wisdom of psychology, leadership practice, and cross-cultural insight into every conversation. She is a business psychologist, transformation strategist, and founder of Resilience21 Leadership Collective. And above all, she's a mother of two teenagers, a wife, and a human being who finds renewal in nature and draws inspiration from the diversity of people and places. I am Bisma Mirza. Let's welcome Sylwia in Resilient, the Quiet Power. Welcome to Resilient, the Quiet Power. How are you, Sylwia?
Thank you, Bismarck, for such a nice welcome and introduction. I'm really ready and focused to serve your audience.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you on board, and I really love the work you are doing. And I thought, when we met on the outskirts, on the lines of, the unleashing the power within, I thought that I need to speak to somebody who is actually doing this work, and I had so many questions about it. So yes, putting you on the spot, Sylwia, what is resilience? Is this is is this something just we use synonymously for discipline, or does it actually have a meaning of its own?
Yeah, well, actually, I would say that you can find many different definitions of that. And that's a word that comes from psychology to say that this is a process of adapting to changes and challenges, to keep it very short and precise. And as a process, for me and from my perspective, it's always a very important to understand that it takes time. So it's a human capability to go through changes and challenges. And I think for every one of us, if we could ask this question, have you ever faced a change or a challenge in your life? I think most of us, or if not everyone, would raise their hand, right? So we also have this natural capability to go through the change and through the challenge, any kind of adversity, which is a difficulty in our life. Sometimes it's a change that we evoke. Sometimes it's a change we are part of and not author of. And resilience is our way to cope with this, to go through it. And yes, you can have many different ways how you can do it. Sometimes we say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You probably heard about that statement. And it's not necessarily this way. As you said, it's not about discipline always. It's not about being strong. for me, it's a different way of looking at the life. And in life, presently, we will always face difficulties. We will always face different changes. And it's our way, like a little bit like a lifestyle. How do we respond? Not react, but respond with consciousness, with our awareness to what is happening. And how can we not get under the water, but really more like a surfer, to take the surfing board and use this wave, use this wind, use the adversity to discover not only what is the next step for you, but also who are you becoming through the change, through the challenge. How does it sound
It
for the
sounds
start?
it sounds great. So Sylvia was sharing with us कि resilience ये आपकी कुव्वत ताकत होती है कि जो भी आप challenges face करते हैं उससे आप कैसे बाहर निकलते हैं। आप जैसे उन्होंने एग्जांपल दी कि एक आप समंदर में सर्फिंग बोट के ऊपर है तो प्रेशर नीचे हो और आप ऊपर हो, ये resilience होती है आपकी सलाहियत कि आप चीज़ों से मुश्किलात से ऊपर उठ सके। I was just translating what you have said and I've used the surfing boat example. So Sylvia, when we say that resilience is how we respond to challenges and we have faced challenges, and when we become resilient when we face adversities, difficult situations. But then how do you define that? How can we make sure that these challenges, they make us strong and they don't make us bitter?
That's a very good question. I like to use this metaphor of the boiling water. So let's imagine that the boiling water is a representation of an adversity, of a challenge or a change in our life. And if we put 3 different ingredients into the boiling water, there is a different result. So imagine what happens to an egg. If you put an egg to the boiling water, it gets stronger, tougher. If you put a carrot, that is a tough, but when you put a carrot into the boiling water, it gets softened, right? Really soft. And this is what represents people. Some people, think of themselves, and also we think of them as those no shape types, more like eggs, very fluffy, not clear, not bold. But when life hits them hard, they become really tough and strong. The other part of the people are those tough cookies, like a carrot. Nothing will break me type of a person. But when the challenges come, sometimes they get really soft and they're lost. They don't know what to do. And we offer a third option. Imagine what happens to the coffee bean when you put a coffee bean into the boiling water. And I'm sure that we have a lot of coffee lovers here as well. It's a universal ritual drink for most of us, right? What happens to the coffee beans as it goes through the boiling water? It's changing the physical state. It's changing the chemistry. So we're offering the same for the resilience and understanding how can you react not only, but respond to what is happening with you, through you, just like a coffee bean. So you don't have to choose between being soft or hard, but really to transform through the adversity, to discover what we also learn with Tony Robbins and the other great trainers. What can you discover about yourself? Who do you become as a personality, as a person, as the entrepreneur, the founder, the mother? Who are you becoming through this adversity? And that's what is really interesting for me as a psychologist, to help people discover that you tap your highest purpose, your potential that you have, even deeper.
So very reflective. Sylvia was sharing an example कि जब हम बॉइलिंग वाटर में 3 चीज़ें डालते हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि आप अंडे को डालते हैं, आप कैरेट डालते हैं और आप साथ में आप जो है कॉफ़ी बीन्स डालते हैं। सो रेजिलियंस इज़ समथिंग विच जो आपको ट्रांसफॉर्म करती है। सर कॉफ़ी बीन की उन्होंने एग्जांपल दी कि वो कोर नहीं छोड़ती लेकिन अपने आप को फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी के साथ ट्रांसफॉर्म कर देती है। आई जस्ट ट्राई टू समराइज व्हाट यू हैव सेड एंड यू हैव वेरी ब्यूटीफुल गिवन वेरी ब्यूटीफुल एग्जांपल. I'm stuck somewhere when I'm, the point when we are facing challenges, we often, especially as women, especially as homemakers, even men also, but speaking from women's perspective, we have this ability, habit of falling into self-pity. So what is one thing you would recommend to people who are watching and listening about resilience, what they should keep in mind when things are getting tough, when they are going through challenges? What should one thing or practice they should adopt when they think that things are getting tough, it's very difficult for them to breathe? What can they remind themselves and think and or practice something?
You know, in my work, and as you mentioned at the beginning, I had this privilege to study cross-cultural psychology. So I really listen carefully, different traditions, different cultural backgrounds of different people that we work with, and also what the indigenous people tell us. And if I would say one thing, one advice would be remember that you have your roots. Very often we use this metaphor in the Western world, especially that human beings are more like batteries. And we have this saying, oh, I need to recharge my batteries. I need to get more energy because I'm so burnout and tired. And I fight against this statement because I think we're human beings. So we're closer to the biological systems and organism than the machines and mechanics. So in that regards, what we share also and what we teach in Resilience 21 approach is imagine yourself as a tree, and you can have different trees, but all the trees have something in common that we have. These are the roots. So if you really are stuck in this moment, just imagine that you have strong roots under the earth, under your feet. No matter where you sit, no matter where you are barefoot or with your shoes at a meeting, or just before picking your child from the kindergarten, just really focus on your roots to know that you are held by Mother Nature, but something bigger than you are, by your ancestors, all that were before you. So you are not alone, and that's important. You can touch your heart, say, I feel my roots. I'm not alone. I'm held by something stronger than just me. I will manage. I'll cope with this.
थैंक यू सिल्विया। सो मैंने सिल्विया से सवाल ये पूछा था कि कैसे हम सेल्फ पिटी में ना पड़ें जब हम मुश्किलात से गुजरे हैं। शी सेड कि मैं आपको एक दरख्त की एग्जांपल देती हूँ। दरख्त जो होता है उसके पास वो फल का भी हो सकता है, फूल का भी हो सकता है, लेकिन उसकी जितनी गहरी रूट्स होंगी उसको अपनी रूट्स नहीं भूलनी चाहिए, अपनी पहचान नहीं भूलनी चाहिए। जब आप मुश्किलात से गुजर रहे हैं तो याद रखें, अपने दिल पे हाथ रखें और ये याद रखें कि आप अकेले नहीं हैं। इन्होंने मदर नेचर की एग्जांपल दी, मैं कहूँगी आप अपनी फेथ को भी बीच में ला सकते हैं, यू कैन सी अबाउट दैट। सो आई हैव जस्ट ट्रांसलेटेड दैट and Sylvia, I was very interested in your work. What made you, choose this field? Because this is for many of us who don't know much. Resilience is just like a buzzword. It's just like a next word we use synonymously for discipline, for many other practices. But I didn't know that it's a science. And I want you to tell my viewers if this is a science or it's what it is. And please tell us about your work. I was really amazed with what you are doing.
Yes. So as I said at the beginning, resilience comes also from psychology. Yeah. So if you search for any kind of scientific proof for this buzzword, resilience, yes, it's a very popular word right now. Then you can find a lot of work and different researches in psychology. Right now, we use resilience for many different contexts. We call countries resilience, we call organizational resilience, we call individual resilience. So there are different types and contexts, different ways where resilience is now placed. What I think is important, and if you ask me, how did I find myself in this work, in this field? That's a very interesting story that happened in the pandemic. So 5 years ago, when we were all stuck and we were all locked down and we didn't know what to do next, and we knew that things should change, I was stuck as well, in a way. The only thing I had in mind, and I didn't know from Tony Robbins at that time, I didn't know the concept of the primary question. So the question that sometimes we have. I didn't know that concept, but I had it somehow intuitively. I had a question How can I help? What can I do? When everything is closed, when we need to change, we need to shift. And I also had to shift the way how I was working until that time, because I was working quite a lot in different countries, so flying here and there. And suddenly it just all stopped. So I was holding this question, how can I help those managers that I'm helping, normally, as I can't fly anymore? And how can I help my family who was also, home, and we had to make a home office, right? From our homes, we had to make a school or the kindergarten, a restaurant, a fitness club, everything became in our house. Um, so what helped me and how I discovered um, this kind of field of work was I just simply was holding this question and imagine I was waking up each morning for 3 months, 5:30 a.m., and just going into the nature for a little run and a little conversation with myself. And when I was coming back, still everybody was sleeping. So I had this quiet moment to hear what I heard through the movement, through the nature, coming back home and putting my thoughts on a big board. So I started creating something. And I felt like this nature is talking with me, or I'm talking with the nature, or I don't know. It was just a creation process where I thought, okay, we sometimes have this moment where we feel stuck, when we feel lost. And this is a great moment not to sit with the question, not to sit with this feeling, but really move with it and going into the nature, whatever nature is for you and around you. But it can always help you to hold your emotional statements, emotional feelings. And this is how I came up with this concept of resilience. And when I looked back, and I'm sure that when everybody looks back into your own lives, you will find those moments when you really could transform. So go through the hero's journey. And from that perspective to really recognize of who you are. I know you need to do the translation, so I will pause here and explain a little bit even more.
सिल्विया से मैंने सवाल पूछा था कि इनका काम क्या है, क्या कर रही हैं, तो उन्होंने बताया कि मैं अब मेरा ट्रैवलिंग बहुत होती है, मैं क्रॉस कल्चर से सीखती हूँ। बट ड्यूरिंग पेंडेमिक जब सब कुछ बंद हो गया तो फिर मैं सुबह उठ के वॉक करने जाती थी और जब मैं वापस आती थी तो लोग सो रहे होते थे। लेकिन उस वक्त जब सब कुछ बंद हो गया और आप कहें कि मैं अब क्या कर सकता हूँ, तो इस सवाल को लेके जब ये नेचर में जाती थी तो इनको बहुत सारे जवाब मिले, ये इनको अपने आप को सुनने का मौका मिला और वहाँ से इन्होंने अपने आप को फिर से बिल्ड किया। So I've again summarized it very quickly. And I think very beautifully you have mentioned of, going and connecting with the nature, listening to your own thoughts, giving a chance to your own self to actually breathe and listen to yourself. So I would love if you could continue what you were saying.
Yeah, so if we search for some kind of concept and we have this IQ concept, right? So the intelligence, our intelligence understood in very, let's say, general way. Yeah, to have high IQ, it means that I'm smart, I'm intelligent in a typical mind way. Then we have emotional intelligence. So how can we hold and manage emotions and emotional states of ours and also the others? And I could say that we have this third intelligence, adversity intelligence. So resilience can be this adversity intelligence, meaning your way, your own style, how you go through the difficulties and changes. And as I mentioned, we have different ways and different experiences. So everybody who is listening or watching us has already a practice, is already an experienced practitioner of that. It's not that I'm the expert. I have the curiosity as a psychologist. I'm always curious. How can we think better? How can we do better? How can we behave better? Even better, even better. So I have this curiosity, why certain people behave in a certain way. Why did I take that decision, So that curiosity brought me to really analyzing the whole process, how to help ourselves to go even easier through any kind of difficulties, even more aware. Because I think what is very important here, Bisma, is that I talk to leaders, and I think leader is sitting at any chair. You don't have to have a position like a president of the country or a president of the company to call yourself a leader. A mother in the house is a leader. A founder who is trying to, make the first impact through the business is a leader already. Yeah. So thinking about this leadership, it's always a question, how can you do your leadership even more consciously? Yeah, consciously meaning that you understand that whatever you do, it makes an impact. How you behave in a change, it has a ripple effect, just like you put a stone into the water, it has a ripple effect to your team at home and also at work. Does this
Absolutely.
make sense?
या दिस मेक्स सेंस। सो मैंने इनसे कहा कि अपने काम के बारे में और बताएं, तो उन्होंने बताया कि एज अ लीडर, जैसे आप घर पे भी ख़वातीन होती हैं तो दे आर द लीडर्स, एंड इवन वर्क प्लेसेस पे इनका सवाल ये होना चाहिए कि हम अपनी ज़िंदगी और दूसरों की ज़िंदगी कैसे बेहतर कर सकते हैं। इन्होंने रिपल इफ़ेक्ट की बात की कि जब आप पानी में पत्थर फेंकते हैं तो उसका इफ़ेक्ट आता है। तो मुश्किलात में आप जिस तरह से भी सर्वाइव करते हैं, जिस तरह से कोप करते हैं, उससे भी आपकी लाइफ बेहतर होती है। सिल्विया, I would definitely want to know more about the science behind resilience. You were telling me about the framework, and which will be, I think, so will be adopted by European Union, the framework which you have suggested, right?
Yes, well, the framework that I work with, it's a very interesting one because it's based on the liminal pathways model by Gisela Wendling. She was researching different cultures and understanding how we move through the change process. So I used her model to design the 21 days of a training where we touch and grow the leadership capabilities to hold a space in the change. So we have the first week about awakening and separating from the old. The second week in any change is about this transition, just like a caterpillar becoming a cocoon. And in the cocoon, there is this transition happening inside of us. So in the third phase, in integration, we can become a butterfly. So I use that model to place Resilience 21 as a training to prove also that this is something that you can grow, develop. So it's not that you are born with or not. Resilience is definitely a kind of ability that you can expand and grow and build over the years.
एब्सोल्युटली। तो जो सिल्विया ये बता रही हैं कि इन्होंने एक मॉडल जो बनाया रेजिलियंस का, वो अडॉप्ट किया, जिसमें पहले फेज़ में अवेकनिंग होती है, आगाही होती है, फिर उसके बाद में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होता है इन अ सेंस के जैसे वो पीच का फेज़, जब एक बटरफ्लाई बनने से पहले जो कैटरपिलर होता है वो अपने ककून से निकल रहा होता है, एंड देन इंटीग्रेशन कि वो चेंजेस को साथ लेते हुए एक खूबसूरत सी बटरफ्लाई बनता है। सो दिस इज़ एग्जैक्टली व्हाट शी वाज शेयरिंग। Sylvia, and I understand that resilience is applied in different forms, in different phases of life, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because even a very young child can go through tremendous changes or traumatic experiences. So it's already growing its resilience. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how old you are, we all experience different moments of change and challenge and adversity. And this is how we grow, how we expand. So you asked me also, Bismarck, about the science, about
Yeah, yeah.
also the elements related to it. So one thing is how also the brain works.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is a very critical thing. And you know, as you mentioned, I have quite a lot experience already working with many different adults, but also in the past with the teenagers and young adults. And what I've learned is that we can't just stay in our mind. We can't just stay in our head. So what I started discovering about different researches on the brain and neuroplasticity, imagine that no matter how old you are, and it's now proven not only by the science, but also by amazing elders and people at different age, that you can still influence your brain. Neuroplasticity means that your brain is like a muscle, and you can train your muscle in terms of your beliefs. As you said, we have the self-pity, you know, we have those moments when we are the hardest for ourselves. We don't need anyone to beat us. We beat ourselves sometimes, yeah? And I think it's really becoming aware, becoming conscious of your thoughts, and knowing that I can influence my thoughts by this inner training. Being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your convictions, and if you recognize that they are against you because they dispower you, know that you can change them. And that's neuroplasticity, meaning that you can manage your brain, that you can manage what you think about yourself and the whole world.
अमेजिंग। सिल्विया बता रही थी कि इसके पीछे साइंस क्या है, और उन्होंने बताया न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी की, और वो ये है कि आप अपने ब्रेन की कि अपने बिलीव्स के ज़रिए अपनी हैबिट्स, अपनी सोचें बदल सकते हैं। जब हम सेल्फ पिटी में पढ़ते हैं तो ऐसे बिहेवियर्स जो हमें हार्म करते हैं हम उनको बदल सकते हैं बाय रिपीटिंग अदर थिंग्स। सो यू टॉक्ड अबाउट इट, हाउ वी कैन चेंज आवर सेल्व्स थ्रू आवर बिलीव्स and through reminding ourselves that if our beliefs are harming us, is there any practice we can do? You were sharing about your book, some 21, those QR codes which you can scan, and there's something you were sharing about that, if you would like to talk about that.
Yes, and this is exactly what I think. Resilience is a practice. You can't expand it by listening about it. You can't expand it by just reading the book. So yes, I wrote a book as a summary of our process that we had during the pandemic. So at that time, when I said I was going out, coming back, drawing some ideas and concepts, and then I invited 3 of my friends, and together we invited 15 clients of ours, totally for free. And we said, you know what? Nobody knows what to do. We're all stuck. Let's be stuck together. Let's really co-create something together. And I said, I have something in mind. I created something and I want to prototype it with you. And the book is and the result of our prototype. So we talk about resilience here. We talk about transformation process. And the 3rd chapter is actually a training with QR codes that you scan, or it's in an ebook version where you can click into the link and have already an outdoor training. And what is important here, and if I would say again, how to train it, expand on physical level, emotional level, also on the level of your intellect and kind of spirituality, to know always that you are part of something bigger. And that's why our training is outdoor, because I believe that the nature can help us to expand and grow, through those difficulties and those moments. So I'll pause here and we'll add one more thing about
Okay, sure.
the
Sylvia, why
practice.
don't you show your book again? I wanted to speak, if you could, yeah. Yeah. So this is Sylvia's book, और वो ये कह रही हैं कि क्योंकि resilience हमने सीखी जाती है कि कोई किताब पढ़ने से नहीं आ जाती, तो उनकी इस बुक में ट्रेनिंग्स हैं, 21 ट्रेनिंग्स हैं, QR कोड्स हैं जो आप स्कैन कर सकते हैं, एंड यू कैन गो एंड चेक दैट आउट आप resilience के ऊपर, और वो हर दिन आपको कुछ ना कुछ नया सीखने को मिलता है. That's what she's saying, that these are the QR codes which you can scan and you can develop the habit. एंड अगेन अब इनसे और ये इसमें कई फेजेस हैं कि आप स्पिरिचुअल लेवल पे भी कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं. यू कैन कनेक्ट ऑन डिफरेंट लेवल्स, एंड दैट्स व्हाट शी इज़ ट्राइंग टू से, कि ऑलवेज रिमेंबर जब मुश्किल वक्त से गुजर रहे हैं तो आप किसी बड़ी कुदरत के किसी बड़े करिश्मे का होने का जो है आप उसके अंदर प्रोसेस में, जिस तरह से एक कैटरपिलर बटरफ्लाई बनता है. यस सिल्विया, यू वांटेड टू ऐड टू दैट?
Yes. So when I started reading different researches about resilience, neuroplasticity, mental health, because it's a pandemic of loneliness and mental health issues right now, I've recognized that it should be a very simple solution for that, a very simple practice, like a lifestyle, like you wake up and you go to brush your teeth, the simple practice that you can do. So when I discovered and imagine that these are actually the latest researches that really say that regular morning runs or walks in the nature, and that's important to say, in the nature, outside, outdoor, when you have a daily light as soon as possible where you can experience that, it's increasing your mental health by 51%. It lowers your stress. That's important. And you can have 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be like two long hours, 20 minutes, just like a practice. 40% of people with the mood disorders, when they practice, the regular exercises, their mental health, and well-being started to improve. Depression, anxiety, in comparison with the people who are active or non-active, it's showing that those people who do some exercises, then it lowers their depression and anxiety feeling and the fears. So I started to discover again how the brain works and what is the science behind the brain. And we all know the cortisol, right? The cortisol is the hormone of stress. So if you imagine that you have a glass and you are this glass, and we have a natural level of cortisol every morning when we wake up. That's the physiology. So imagine that you already have some levels of cortisol in your glass. But when you do something that is the morning practice to wake you up, go a little bit outside if it's possible for you, or just open the window and gain a daily light and do some kind of physical movement. It's like already pouring this beautiful water. Then if during the day you have more cortisol because of the stressful different situations that you experience, you already have that in your container, in your glass. So even though let's imagine a black liquid will be added here, you still have something to, I don't like to say fight, but to cope with the stress on the physiological level. So what I want to say is I started discovering that we can't influence the brain and physiology of the brain if we skip the movement. So nature, a little movement. We do slow jogging. We also recommend different types of simple walk that helps already to lower the cortisol levels and increase the levels of different neurotransmitters responsible for our positive mood, like serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. These are the hormones, and endorphins. These are the hormones and neurotransmitters responsible for our positive, good mood.
I think Sylvia's explanation was quite self-explanatory and she emphasized a lot, but still I'll translate it. इन्होंने ये कहा कि ब्रेन की आप चेंज कर सकते हैं अपने बिहेवियर, आप थॉट्स, अगर आप किसी भी तरह की एक्सरसाइज करते हैं या आप नेचर में जाते हैं. शी सेड 51% फ़र्क पड़ता है आपके मूड के ऊपर अगर आप नेचर में जाएं, सुबह उठें और अगर आप अपनी धूप लें और नेचर में जाएं तो आप 51% उसका इम्पैक्ट होता है आपके मूड के ऊपर. किसी भी तरह की फ़िज़िकल एक्टिविटी आप करते हैं, स्लो वॉकिंग, जॉगिंग, तो उसमें 40% रिडक्शन इन कॉर्टिसोल होती है. और उन्होंने ग्लास की एग्जांपल दी कि जब आप सुबह उठते हैं तो एक ग्लास में जितना पानी होता है आपके अंदर भी उस तरह से स्ट्रेस होती है, तो उसको निकालने के लिए, उससे बेहतर कोप करने के लिए यू नीड टू डू 2 things फॉर श्योर. शी सेड one is of going in the nature, second doing any kind of exercise, walking, jogging, anything like that. Yes, Sylvia, you want to add to that?
Yeah, and this is what I was sharing. These are the latest researches. So this is from the neuroscience news from this year, from July. Yeah, so as you know, with the science, the new researches come, so we have the fresh data, and that's
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Imagine, and let's imagine that each one of us is like a pyramid. And to gain our power, to gain our this kind of leadership influence on a conscious level, that's what I mean. Talking to different people, whether you are a mother, entrepreneur, student, we are all leaders. So to gain our power, and I call resilience as the inner power,
Yes.
imagine that the pyramid has, this bottom. Yes, the essential part is our physiology, is our body. That's why we say if you want to change your state of mind, you need to change your physiology first. So just shake your body, you know. That's why I say go for a walk, run, change the position of your body, because this is how you can easily change your state. From the body, you totally change how you feel. So this emotional aspect and how your body feels strong and your emotional state, that is influencing your IQ, because then I can gain focus. We
Hmm.
can't focus if the body is tired. If you think about yourself, I can't cope with this. I'm so miserable. You can't be creative. You can't be influential. So I need to change the body posture first, you know, even to smile, even if I don't feel like smiling. Yes, I will change that state. I will put my hands up. I will change the state, yeah, to think good things about myself, to tap my shoulders and say, thank you, Bismarck, for all the efforts that you are doing.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And now I can stay focused, creative, decisive. And the decision can be what to do in my business or what to do with my children, many different decisions. But you are in the proper state to stay resilient, to stay grounded, to feel the energy and have clarity. We have this question in our training at the end of each training. So, what is the purpose of your day? So, with this clarity, what is the purpose of your day? You can feel resilient that anything that will happen, I am prepared to cope with this.
हम्म इन्होंने पिरामिड की एग्जांपल दी शी सेड कि पिरामिड में जब आप टॉप वाला पार्ट वो होता है जहाँ पे आप पहुँचना चाह रहे होते हैं, सो नीचे आपकी फिजियोलॉजी होती है। तो अगर आप अपनी फिजियोलॉजी को चेंज करेंगे, चाहे आपसे नहीं भी हो रही, सो इफ़ यू फीलिंग बैड, अगर आपको बुरा लग रहा है, यू डोंट फील लाइक स्माइलिंग, फिर भी मुस्कुराइए। क्योंकि अगर आप फिजियोलॉजी को, अपनी जिस्मानी को चीज़ों को, सेहत को ठीक करेंगे, तो आपका जो ओवरऑल मूड पे इम्पैक्ट आएगा। अगर आप ऐसे बैठे हुए हैं तो आप ऐसे बैठें कॉन्फिडेंट होके, अपने शोल्डर स्ट्रेट करें। और यही बहुत सारी इंटरपर्सनल कम्युनिकेशन में भी आपको सिखाया जाता है दैट यू नीड टू माइंड योर बॉडी लैंग्वेज एज वेल। सबसे पहली चीज़ अपनी बॉडी को ठीक करें। सिल्विया, आई वांटेड टू आस्क अबाउट दिस, व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हेन यू चेंज योर फिजियोलॉजी एंड योर मूड शिफ्ट्स एंड एवरीथिंग शिफ्ट्स, you have to actually in some way fake it as also, slightly, even if you don't want to. So somewhere when imposter syndrome kicks in, how do we deal with that? There's so many things which you're not good at, and mind is attuned on focusing things which are not good. I mean, I think you have to do one good thing, or you have to tell your boss your
Mm,
achievements 7 times to actually offset what you are not good at, right? So
yes.
how do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Mm. Yes, I think that's another popular right now conversation around the imposter syndrome. What I've really enjoyed doing for over, I think, 35 years now. I turned 48 this year, just a month ago, is journaling. Imagine that I can still discover some of the pieces of my journals from when I was a teenager. And I think one of the practices to cope with the imposter syndrome or any kind, again, moment where we feel stuck in our life is also journaling. We call it as the intuitive writing method. So sometimes you can either start with a question on the top of the page, or just simply the question can be, how am I doing right now? What do I feel? How do I feel? What is my condition? And just start writing. And that's first of all the way how you can stay connected with yourself, understand yourself even better. And especially for leaders who feel a lot of this imposter syndrome that is, knocking your door, I like to say, if you really feel that, try to have this little practice every day to finish your day with 3 moments, 3 decisions, or 3 actions, 3 moments where you can appreciate yourself. It could be related to you as a person. It could be related to you as a mother. It could be related to you as a business owner or founder. So very different types. It could be big or small, but really something that you notice. Because again, what it does to your brain and the self-image is that you start to rewiring what you think about yourself because you have data, the data that proves that you can achieve, that you are a good person, that you are a professionalism. And that's a practice again, to know it. And remember to hold yourself, especially in this world right now that is, on LinkedIn, on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, everybody is showing the successes. Hardly anyone is showing what is on the backstage. And very often we compare people with with them on the stage, and you never compare your backstages. So that means that you have a very high standards that we want to achieve because we think that everybody is just succeeding. And as a psychologist who works one-to-one also with the leaders, I can tell you many times those who are on the stage or lead the organizations, they also have those moments of doubt. It's a human thing. So we all have that. It's just a way how you can cope with this and feed your brain again with a self-image of those moments where and they come from your journal, from your history, from your practice, that I can cope with this because I know my value, I know my career, I know my skills, and I know that I can handle this situation. And this is how you calm down your neuronal system and go back to your roots, your focus, your resilient mindset and body set and skill set.
एब्सोल्युटली। सो सिल्विया से मैंने सवाल किया था इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम का, कि जब हम अपने आप को पॉजिटिव थपकियाँ दे रहे होते हैं तो हमारा मसला ये होता है कि हमें बार बार ये ख्याल आता है कि वी आर सेइंग टू आवरसेल्फ कि झूठ मत बोलो, चल झूठी, अभी ये नहीं कर सकती और अपनी तारीफ़ें बता रही है, ठीक है। सो हाउ टू डील विद दैट, एंड उन्होंने उसके लिए कहा कि आप जर्नलिंग करें, और 3 ऐसी चीज़ें जो आपकी अच्छी हैं, जो आप डेटा से प्रूव कर सकते हैं, वो अपने बारे में लिखें कि मैंने आज क्या चीज़ अचीव की। दैट्स व्हाट शी वाज ट्राइंग टू से। हाउ सोशल मीडिया पे देखते हैं हर आदमी अपनी तारीफ़ें कर रहा होता है, लेकिन बैक स्टेज का कोई नहीं बता रहा होता। सो डोंट फॉल फॉर दैट। Now, Sylvia, when we're trying to improve ourselves and we see some changes, some good things happening, and then we start, we have a habit of comparison. No matter how we try not to compare, we compare for good as well, and we compare for worse as well, because we need to have a benchmark, and this is our innate desire of validation and praise. Sometimes we lose sight of reality, and we try to overshine others, we try to look down on people. And if we are having this journaling that we are trying to prove ourselves that we are good, how can we stay grounded while not being narcissistic?
I have a supervisor, and all the professional psychologists or coaches, they should have their supervisor who is a person to meet once per month, in my case, and talk about our cases and clients, and just to have this kind of internal hygiene, so to know that I can serve the others. And he's 81, imagine, and he's still working. Very clever mind. And he's always saying this advice. If you're really in that situation that you just described, go and clean your house. Or go and do the gardening. Like really just do something that is very pragmatical, where you can see tangible results. And when I look at my mother, for example, who loves gardening, go and touch the ground, touch the plants, just help the plants to grow, water it, do something where you can already see, it was dirty, now it's clean.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So to
Humbling
ground
yourself,
it means to bring yourself into the present moment. Yeah, that's the grounding. Like I'm collecting all my thoughts, all those, anxiety, yeah,
Yeah.
thoughts around your head, yeah. Imagine that we are like on the rocky river. This is what happens in our mind, even if we look like, okay, we're here, but the mind is very tricky, yeah. It's like trying to cope with this and a huge amount of information that we all have. So grounding means bringing focus back to me, bringing my sense of agency back to me, not to
Yeah.
give it to the external world, but really bring it in. So clean
Mm-hmm.
up your house, bake a cake, you know,
Mm-hmm.
clean up your shelves,
Mm-hmm.
really, really do something that is so pragmatical
Mm-hmm.
that it's really changing everything around you.
Beautiful advice. Very beautiful advice. I think very self-explanatory. I don't have to explain that. Sylvia, you have worked with global leaders on building cultures of resilience, but for a solo founder or a homemaker starting her or his first venture, resilience isn't built in teams, it's built alone, often after a setback. How can an individual begin to cultivate that kind of inner resilience before success or stability arrives?
You know, Bismarck, I love those reflections because if you think of any kind of corporation or a big organization, it was a startup at the beginning. It never grew immediately into hundreds or thousands of people, right? So I would say those people are the same as we are. Yeah, it's just a different stage that we are, a different moment. So what keeps them and what we can learn from those people, what can we do as solo entrepreneurs? Do exactly the same. Imagine that you already manage an organization. Even if you just have 3 clients, you already manage, you have to manage yourself. If you're a solo entrepreneur and a mother, you also have your team at home that you have to manage. So your experience as a leader is already not only solo, it's actually always in relationship. So how can you cultivate the same way as I work with a big corporations or founders? I don't change here. We can have different contexts, but I still keep journaling and they still keep journaling.
Hmm.
Reading some inspirational books, literature, ground yourself, meditate, go to the nature. Yeah. Talk to yourself. It's even more important to hold yourself accountable, your self-image. So build yourself. For solo entrepreneurs, probably your clients are the reflection mirroring what you think about yourself, right? So it's so important to work on your self-image, your self-value.
Absolutely.
So don't, you know, tap your shoulders. Don't criticize yourself. If you made a mistake, learn from it. That's a human being to make a mistake. If the mistake has big consequences, swallow them, take them on your shoulders. That's why we need to have strong body to hold it and move on. Yeah, so refocus from the past into the future, but staying present with what do I think about myself? What do I feel about myself? And appreciate. Let's learn to appreciate ourselves even more. Yeah, good job. Talk to yourself in the mirror. That's what pandemic did to us because within the online meetings, we also see our face.
Yeah.
Without that, we just see the other person's face, right?
Yes.
So tap your shoulder again, celebrate your successes
Absolutely.
and celebrate it also with your family
Yes.
because solo entrepreneurs, before they might have grow into the larger team, you know, you can have a just any kind of celebration with your family team and say, Mom just won a very important project and I want to celebrate with you. So I have a cake for you and you know, that just really stay happy because I need you. You can tell to your children and teach them to say, you know, when I go somewhere, I'm going to have a TEDx talk soon. My kids know about it. My kids know about any trouble I have. And then I tell them, this is what I'm going to do. I need you to hold your fingers crossed for me, because I'm holding my fingers to you, for you. So this is how you can also influence and build this resilient culture in your family. And I think for the solo entrepreneurs, this is also where you gain the roots. For all the mothers, not to feel that they are alone. You can teach your children to help you hold the household and not be the one to hold everything, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very beautiful, and I like how you're giving simple, relatable examples, not something very high, fancy, but something very relatable and grounded. And I think I understand what you're saying. In your book and trainings, you talk about regenerating trust, courage, and connection. For founders who lead small teams or even just manage freelancers, what does human leadership look like in today's fast digital world? And why does it matter for long-term resilience?
I think the most important is really to know your people, this human connection. And we can talk about the tasks, and it's important also to talk about, how are you doing? What is important for you in your life at the moment? So to also not only look at the person as the resource, as the team member that has certain tasks to accomplish, but also as a person, a human being that has his or her own, you know, private situation. Some moments when we can feel really high, some moments where we can really feel lower, and just really put ourselves in the shoes of the other person to understand that the way how we manage, the way how I again respond to the work, the cooperation that we have can help the other person to grow. And I think for most people, we really, if we recall a teacher, from our education, you very often we recall those teachers that were demanding and the teachers from whom we could really learn. And I think that was my dad. He was a financial director for many years. And I think I gained it from him to have this balance. He was the best dancer on the stage always when they had those, in the past, those kind of celebration at the end or celebration at certain moments in the business. So he was the best dancer, and he was very demanding financial director. So I think like balancing this, that we should have things done in the highest standard that is possible if we speak about the business, and at the same time to understand that we are human beings. So spend some time with the team. If it's online, we can always have just a chit chat, and before we jump into the topic, from time to time we can have more the social meeting than a task meeting. um, Remind and keep the person in mind. Sometimes you can have a nice song that you can send to the person, or an article, that you can send to that person to show that you care and it's natural, authentic.
Okay.
It's not pushed. Yeah. So just think of
Okay.
your people, know their interest. And this is how you build a strong bond.
Hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Sylvia, I want to understand while you're working, how can we bring resilience in cultural context? So you have worked across different cultures. Many South Asian women entrepreneurs carry family pressures, guilt, or fear of failure. How does the culture shape the way people experience resilience? And what can women in Pakistan or similar societies can learn from global resilience practices without losing their identity?
When I describe this pyramid as this kind of, representation of our inner power, that the first is physiology, the body, then the emotional state, and then I said the focus, the intellect. And the top of the pyramid is we call it a purpose, we call it a spiritual dimension. And by spiritual, I don't mean religion. I just mean this, the purpose, the set of values that we all have. And I think respecting, and I would say being inspired by different cultures. This is what I personally value and practice a lot. And I would say that being aware that we all have the same capabilities. So again, body and the brain, and you can influence what you think. So you can have this neuroplasticity. We all have it. It doesn't differentiate us from women or men. We all have it. It's culturally neutral. So we all have this neuroplasticity. And knowing that in all the traditions that you have, in this identity of your cultural or social identity with many different social roles, know that you can always reshape, respecting your background, respecting your tradition, and still transform into this kind of a version of yourself that you really want to see. We have a saying, be the magic you want to see in the world. And the magic in different cultures can look differently. So find your way to stay rooted to your values, to your culture and tradition, and just do your best in the circle of influence that you have. You might think it's just my family. No, it's your family. And from your family, it's to the society. You might think it's just my small business. Yes, this is a business, but it's not small. If you are serving to some customers, you are already influencing some of the customers. It can be one person, two, three, five, yeah, but it's going to grow and they will impact themselves. So find also your way in your tradition. We say meditation, but meditation can again have different phases. But your way to connect with your true spirit of who you truly are. And remember also that we as women can support each other, to see each other and have this international sisterhood. So I'm also very grateful, Bismarck, for connecting and inviting me
Likewise.
here.
Thank you for accepting it. So my second last question, I know you're also feeling tired and you're wearing out, but this was such a nice conversation and I just lost, track of time and I was looking at the mark and I was like, oh, we are exceeding our time limit. Um, so this is one of my favorite questions. Many women, men even, and entrepreneurs, they confuse resilience with endurance, pushing harder, working longer, just we have not got it there, so we have to push hard to be there. So, from your perspective, what's the difference between true resilience and toxic toughness? And how can founders
Mm,
learn to rebuild energy instead of burning out?
yeah, a very great question. That's why I said what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We have those statements that already were very popular in the past, and I always try to really be very mindful of what we believe in, and it creates our reality. So I would say again, I love different metaphors. You probably recognized. So sometimes you can think of different types of the trees. And if you think of resilience, we love to bring a bamboo tree. Bamboo is not the strongest trees in any kind of ecosystem, but it's the most resilient as it can grow in very different circumstances, in very different environment, and it's very flexible. But you can build amazing things with that. So it might not look so representative as a huge oak, for example, the strong one with the huge branches, still it has this flexibility. And I think, as you said, resilience for many people, it means that we need to get tougher and then we block ourselves. We block ourselves for the potential that we have, you know? And I don't like that. What I say to people, let's stay open. If somebody hurts your feelings, if you really experience something that was very difficult, okay, that requires a certain procedure to rework it, to learn from the situation, to learn about your boundaries, maybe, to learn about yourself, to set your boundaries, maybe even more stronger, more precise, and know that you can do it. And at the same time, don't close yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to close and get tougher, because then mostly you disconnect with your emotions. And that's another part that is important for us human beings. So I would really say, stay with like a bamboo tree, more flexible. Use the wind to see where the life brings you. Okay, your client said no. Okay, maybe there is a better client for me if that one says no. So stay curious. How to protect your energy, you asked. Stay in the motion. Don't sit down. Don't let your body to get into this tiredness, but in a negative way, just to watch Netflix or some films, get Coca-Cola and some unhealthy food. If you need to do it for one evening, do it. And then, start
Bounce back.
again.
Yeah.
Go out, go out, go out. You don't want just to bounce back to where you were. You want to transform.
Yes.
Yeah. But transform doesn't mean into something stronger. Transform into a different quality. And I could say, Bismarck, that very often women, especially in business, they become more male because we
Yeah.
have this patterns that we need to
Yeah.
be like men to be successful in the business.
Yeah.
And we have a different energy. In each one of us, we say, we have male and female qualities. And sometimes it's just a matter how you can act from more this part, the warrior, the male energy to make decision. And sometimes how can I hold my customer in his emotional state? So I need to act from my, divine part, from my female part. And we all have it, no matter whether you are a man or woman, we have those both. And it's a balance between those two. Yeah, it's
Yes.
always a balance.
Yes. Okay, let's have these rapid fire questions. Okay. Yeah. You ready?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, what's one resilient habit leaders overestimate and one they underestimate?
One that they overestimate is, as I said, the power of mind only. Yeah, that if we keep talking or reading more, we're gonna get more. That's not true. I disagree with this, enough. And what we underestimate as leaders very often is the simplicity, as people expect, those uh, I don't know, huge lies and fanfares like, oh, now we're gonna hear this. No, simplicity. Take your 2 feet, be lucky that you can walk, go to the nature. Keep breathing, ground yourself, tap your shoulder, keep it simple. In
Okay.
simplicity, there is a huge power and repetitiveness. So don't think that you are gonna do it just once per week and that's it. Keep it as your lifestyle.
Okay. If you had to teach resilience in 30 seconds, what's the one principle you would choose?
Grounding yourself and knowing that you can influence your state of mind, your state of feeling, your state of the body, because you are worth it.
Okay. What's the hardest truth entrepreneurs need to accept about their uncertainty?
That it will be continued. That as the entrepreneur, you will always face those moments when you are uncertain. And I was working once with my business mentor a couple of years ago, and I asked him, Eitan, how can you help me that all my decisions that I will make will be the best ones in the future, And he said, you are never certain. Uncertainty is our life,
Especially nowadays. Yeah.
especially
One
nowadays.
one mindset shift that instantly makes a person, a founder, a woman, a better leader. What is it?
I have the power to influence my thoughts, and from my thoughts and beliefs, how I perceive and respond to the world.
Okay. What's a resilience myth you want the world to stop believing right now?
I don't like this metaphor of bouncing back only,
Ah,
because it means that if something hits me in life, I just need to go back to the old. And I went through difficult times myself, and I know that I don't want to go back to my previous kind of a version, that I want to use this difficulty to really transform, to be more conscious, more aware of who I am, and how can I bring even more value to the world.
absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. One daily habit we can adopt in our lives to practice, but the one daily habit that we can do to build resilience in our daily life.
When you wake up, before you step into whatever task you have, just still have closed eyes, touch your heart, imagine the roots under your feet, and imagine, the branches of your tree of life. And just tell yourself, I love you. Let's have a good day together.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Is there a something you want to say? Is a message you would like to give out? You have been sharing beautiful things, but if there's something else you would like to share as a message, your parting words would be.
I would say we all need this magic, this magic that we want to see in the world. So we all need to become even more aware of our inner power, and that through our presence, we can really influence the different environments and communities we're part of. Never think you are too small. You can always make an impact every day with very little decisions, and most how you are present in your life and in the life of other people.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. That is so beautiful and such simple, nice, relatable examples we could all relate to. One thing which I really liked about what when you were sharing, when you were discussing when you were explaining us the concept of resilience, one thing which really stood out was how you talked about owning your roots, owning your cultures, and being the magic you want to see, and in your own cultures, in your own skin try to have that magic. That was really beautiful. Do you have any recommendations other than your book? I've just started reading your book, so all those of you are listening, Sylvia's book is really amazing. It's practical, it's theory and practical, so do read that out. And if you could just show that again, Resilience 21, what is that? Yeah, Resilience, yes, the inner power of leaders. I think that's a wonderful book, 21 different training days, and you can learn a lot. Thank you so much. But is there anything, any video, is there any movie, or is there anything, any other book you would like to advise? What are you reading nowadays? Let's talk about that.
Oh, I'm always reading a couple of books at the same time. You
Okay.
probably might have this thing as well. Um, well, actually, I read some Zen poems, and what I really
Oh,
like, Sufi poems, like
ah,
Rumi statements.
ah, okay.
It's not so much about actually reading the whole book. For me, sometimes it's like reading a sentence that really touches you, or a poem. I think reading poetry, can be really important. And sometimes we can have this our local cultural traditional poetry, so
Absolutely.
find the poetry from your country and use it to help yourself. And with the films, I forgot the title, but that was the film I recently watched also with my children. It was about this young girl, at that time 17, who sailed alone, solo sail, um, around the world. She was only 17, and you can find it on Netflix.
Okay.
I can type later the title, but I think thinking about resilience, the courage, fighting the adversities, and it's serious because she could lose her life. Knowing how the family would hold her, she's Australian, and that inspiration to always think, imagine you were 17. Who were you at that time?
Yeah.
And imagine what did she do and how she lives her life now being, 30, 40, 50. So know that you can have those films that you can also watch with your family and have this conversation together. I think this is beautiful to really build the culture in which you can thrive no matter what is happening as a family, as a team. And this is how we shape the world.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. It was such a pleasure having you on Resilient the Quiet Power.
Thank you so much. And I'm really holding my fingers crossed for all the women and men listening to you and your what a beautiful, wonderful work that you are doing to inspire others
Thank you.
to be more conscious, resilient in the times that we have now. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
यू हैव हर्ड सिल्विया, ये हमें पोलैंड से ज्वाइन कर रही थी। और अगर आपने सिल्विया को सुना है तो आपको एज अ होम मेकर, एज अ मदरहुड, एवरी डे जगल सो मैनी रोल्स। बच्चे बीमार हैं, चलते चलते किसी के घर में शादी है, जाना है, साथ में कोई बीमार हो गया, कोई चोट लग गई, कोई हादसा पेश आ गया, घरों में कोई बीमार पड़ गया। इसी तरह से अगर आप एक फादर हैं जो, या एक ब्रेड विनर है, और आप अपने ऑफिस में होते हैं और कोई ना कोई चैलेंजेस आपको सामने होते हैं, घर बच्चों का चैलेंज है, घर का है, इवन हर दिन का ये स्ट्रगल कि कैसे अपने एंड्स मीट करने हैं। इसी तरह से आप एक एंटरप्रेन्योर है जो अपना काम कर रहे हैं, और आपको एवरी डे यू फेस दिस दिस अनसर्टेनिटी कि कैसे बिजनेस होगा, कि हर दिन पॉलिसीज़ बदल रही हैं, कुछ ना कोई नई तरमीम आ रही है, तो इसमें आपके लिए सरवाइव करना अक्सर मुश्किल हो जाएगा। लेकिन अगर आपने इस पॉडकास्ट को सुन लिया तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगी डीप रूट्स क्या थी रेजिलियंस की, एंड व्हाटनेस, एंड इफ़ यू स्टिल फील कि इसमें I wish I could connect on a deeper level, then my next video which talks about building resilience in faith is for you. उसको ज़रूर देखें, and I'll be ready to welcome you in the next episode. I'm just a click away. Thank you very much for your time.